And welcome to Apex Esports League. I'm JT. Tonight we're on iRacing for round 3 of the Beyond Blue Formula V Championship. Tonight's track is Phillip Island Circuit, and just being over in the session with doing some practice laps with the guys, there's some fantastic fast times being put down. So it's going to be some very exciting racing. So we've got, for the session tonight, we've got a 10-minute practice. Weather is mostly cloud. Then they have 10 minutes of qualifying, and then a 40-minute race. And we do have the fuel capped at 40%, so we'll have to have the cars required to head in for a pit stop to ensure they get through the remainder of the race. So our standings after round 2, we have Chaz Mostert leading the championship with 300 points. So Sebastian Vandel following closely behind with 226 points, and Jake Kostecki following up on Sebastian's tail. So after Long Beach Street Circuit last week, Chaz Mostert took pole position and then took the win. And that was after starting from the pits and then being involved in an incident. So some very quick laps out there. However, we had Cooper Murray take the fastest lap of the race, setting a 1:37. So this series we are sponsoring Beyond Blue. So there is a 24/7 telephone service available for people to reach out for support. So that is 1300 224636. And then they do have 100 plus counsellors all available to be able to talk. So I'll load up the next screen so we can bring up some details about their support service highlights. 62% of contacts are first-time users, 87% are self-referrals, 61% of contacts are women, and 34% of contacts are men. And out of those that have actually made contact, 47% reported reduced distress levels after first contact, and 10% reported increased confidence to take action. So a very worthy cause to get behind. And we did just get a fantastic donation go through, so we've just gone up to 385. I'll just hide the screen and I'll get us some audio as well. So we did just have Rowan donate $50. Our first goal that we were trying to go for was $350. And if we were reaching that target, we're going to be hosting a no rules race for Project Cars 2 on PlayStation. So we'll be organising that during the week now. As we just before this session started, we're only at $335. So we've just got that up to $385. So that's fantastic. Once we reach our next goal of $450, we'll be hosting a Smash Up Derby for Project Cars. Bring up some details on screen, and if you're joining us for the first time, we've just had Robbie Bradbury go for a slide. And we've got 23 cars currently registered. And we've got a fair few new debuts as well. So we'll make our way down through the list. And if you are joining us for the first time, hit that follow button. We do go live with iRacing on Monday night, 7:30 PM Australian Eastern Standard Time, and Project Cars 2 on Thursday nights at the same time. There's plenty of racing action to be seen. So Neil McKenzie and Sean McKenzie. Have Graham Ellis. I think he's with Downshift. And regular Matt Tesserio. Also, our other regular driver is Tony Vaselis. We do have JJ Hamilton debuting with us tonight. So, good luck to JJ. Blake Urquhart, regular driver with us with Midline Sim Racing. We have Jordan Sell, who debuted in the Logitech G Supercars Championship. He's been absent for a while and making it back for tonight's round. Stephen Banks, also a regular. He's with Century Motorsport KFC. We have Sam Tucker. So first times coming through. It looks like Sebastian Vandel setting a 2:01. That's pretty good opening time. So that's Aaron Maguire getting some tyres changed over. We have Shane Moreland debuting with us tonight, as well as Matt Hardigan. And then we have Russell Gander. And Pablo Cesart debuting with us as well. Phillip Buckland in the VB car. Try and find who else we have missing as they are getting times on the board. Hayden Sell. He also debuted with us in the Logitech G Supercars Championship, and he's made his way back on track with us again tonight. We are missing our professional drivers that we've had in the last two rounds. We had Chaz Mostert, Cooper Murray and Jake Kostecki. Did see a couple of good names in the lobby that the guys were running just before the session that we're hoping that they might come across. Had Jan Morgerson and Magnussen, and Jason Barguana. So unfortunately didn't get to see them jump over. We're hoping that may have got on track and raced to help support Beyond Blue. And don't forget, you can donate to there. We have got our goal up on the screen. So we are trying to raise $500 for Beyond Blue. So now our link up the top right is fundraise.beyondblue.org.au/Apex Esports League. And the other information on the screen is our Facebook page. You can check out all the results, standings and incident reports after the races. That's fb.com/Apex Esports League. You don't need a Facebook account to be able to see those results and standings. So if you're not a Facebook user, you can just open that up in a browser on the computer or your phone and still keep up to date with the results. and then also our YouTube channel, which is bit.ly/ApexESL. That is where we store all past broadcasts, as Twitch does not keep them. And then that is the practice session complete. Drivers have now got 10 minutes to set a qualifying lap. There are points up for grabs for qualifying position. A bit of smoke coming from the tyres as they peel out into the pits. There's about 2 minutes to get around the track on average. We're seeing some 157s being set once drivers are getting in a tow, so the cars really take advantage of a great tow. All drivers have scrambled out on track. We've just got another driver joining into the session. We've got Joel Robinson. This is currently loading in. There's going to be a lot of cars to try and keep track of on the track. With Chaz Mostert not making the session yet, it's looking promising for Sebastian. As he's only trailing by 74 points. So there's a good chance for Sebastian to take the championship lead tonight. There's 120 points available for a win. There's 10 bonus points for the fastest lap set of the race. And there's 25 points for taking pole position. And Sebastian was putting down some very quick times in that practice session before heading over into the broadcasted session. We did have about 7 or 8 drivers all within 0.7 of a second, so it's going to be very tight. It looks like Hayden Sell currently leading the charge on the outlap. So he'll be coming through with a 2-minute 1. So it's only going to allow him to get a few laps in. So we're quite likely to see a fair few drivers strategically planning themselves for the qualifying session to try and tuck out in behind a relatively quick driver. That's not going to hamper their lines as they get out on track and take advantage of that good tow and have that tiny fraction of a time advantage from that extra speed. Most of the track they will be going around just in 3rd and 4th gear. It's only a few corners that you really have to brake for. We will jump on board for a lap with the driver. That sounds like someone's gone for a bit of a spin. We'll go on board with Sebastian Vandel. He is having a few latency issues by the looks of things as well. We have Shane Moreland debuting with us. Bruce Robinson's just joined the session as well. It's 24 drivers. So it's going to be a lot of action around Phillip Island tonight with 24 cars. We haven't crossed over to Aaron Thompson with clutch kickers. We had Mark Horton, who took 3rd position last week, so got on the podium with Jake Kostecki and Chaz Mostert. He's had a fantastic drive around Long Beach. He's carrying some pretty good speed in the session beforehand as well. So we'll actually jump on board for a lap with him since he's actually just about to start a fresh lap. So Sebastian's come through for 156.7, so destroying the times that we're seeing in the practice session beforehand. So flat stick in 4th gear, round through turn 1. You do need to brake just a slight bit through turn 3, sorry, turn 2 I should say. You can hear that slip up onto the curb and then straight onto that throttle to power out. So he kept that in 4th gear by the sounds of it. Another fast left. And ready for the sharp right bend. They'll brake at the 100-metre mark. We'll brake a little bit later. It's going to be a pretty good lap. This trick corner is quite a long one. It can actually catch out if you get on that power a little bit too early through the apex. You'll actually find yourself out on the grass. You're going to see a lot of good passes get there, potentially a few cars being squeezed out. And then a good fast right bender. Followed by another left-hander coming up over onto the crest. A little bit of tyre squeal, still flat stick. A little bit of understeer. A lot of engine braking so you don't slide that car. Brilliant line. And flat stick for most of the way now. You can hear that red spiking. Oh, he's going to take us into the pits. Sounds like he's running low on fuel. And the drivers will have to make sure they familiarise themselves with pit entry and exit procedures as well. It's going to be very crucial to ensuring a victory. Ooh, and Blake and Sebastian both racing pretty tight. Not sure who that is that they were racing there. There's a lot of cars to try and familiarise myself with on track at the moment. So we just had Bruce Robinson load into the session. He hasn't got out for a lap yet, so he could be potentially seeing himself at the back end. Sebastian Van Del still holds the pole setting time of 156.7. Both him and Blake must have probably been working together as well, possibly to give each other a tow. They may be out there switching around for each lap. So they are coming through 1-2 consecutively. And they have set 156.7 for Sebastian. Blake setting a 157.0. Hayden Sell in with a 157.4. So it's nearly half a second away from the pole setting pace. So it was Neil McKenzie that they were out there racing with. He's in the orange downshift. Mark Horton in with the 4th quickest time. There's a minute 50 left for qualifying. So it's probably just enough to get this lap out and possibly conclude one final lap if they can cross the finish line before that countdown gets to 0. Otherwise their times will be cemented in. But I think Sebastian's looking pretty well to be setting a hard to beat pole time of 156.7. Joel Robinson still hasn't joined in. Hey Fordags, thanks for following. And for those of you that are joining us on the stream, haven't done so, be sure to hit that follow button so you can be notified when we go live, and we do appreciate all the growing support we're getting for Apex Esports League. And especially with how well we're doing with fundraising efforts for Beyond Blue. I'm really glad to be supporting a great cause. And Matt Hardigan also with Track Days. So Aaron Maguire also with Track Days. So he's brought over a friend. Not sure if that's also a Track Days car. It is a yellow one, but I think it's actually gold. Yes, that is. Cesario getting a nice choke. Not sure who he's just tucked in behind. That's qualified in 8th so far. We're setting a 1:58.1. Still a very quick time. Stephen Banks. There's the checker, so it'll be his last lap. He's having a bit of fun by hitting his teammate Robbie Bradbury there. Saw him pulled off on the side of the track, so thought he'd give him a good nudge at the end of qualifying. So drivers, bringing those cars into the pits. And there are a bunch of sound effects controls under the stream as well. You can play cheers, applauds, boos, all sorts of fun effects, so you can have some fun with the stream. That's Mark and I think Aaron Thompson both teaming up there with a nice slipstream. Mackenzie heading out. It's not enough time to get a lap in, but he's probably just making himself familiar with pit exit most likely. That's still out on track. He should have enough time to get it through. Jordan Sell has parked up in the pits. Troy Mortensen should probably get enough time. I think he's probably around the first few corners there by the looks of things. Pablo qualifying in 20th position. He's set a 2-minute 1:496. He may have enough time to actually wrap this up. He is in the last sector from the looks of things. There's only 3 drivers left out on track. Joel Robinson has managed to load in, but he hasn't actually set a time on the board, so he'll be qualifying at the back end. Russell Gander has finished in. It's only Pablo left out on track. And we will be crossing over to our podium finishes at the conclusion of the race. So do stick around at the end. You can ask some questions in the chat. And if you do, you did not have enough time to get that lap done. So we have Sebastian Van Del taking pole position. Sam Tucker, coming in with the second time, I think, ahead of Blake Urquhart. So that is pretty quick. The drivers now have a couple of minutes just to hit that grid button, otherwise they will be starting from the pit lane as we saw last week. Yes, we get some very odd things. I'll see if my grid is not going to be showing the right things. We get a few little hiccups as everyone just loads onto the track. It throws all of it a little bit skew. Yeah, for dads, they have, but there wasn't a whole lot of time to be able to get in and set a qualifying time. Well, here we go. The drivers have all hit ready. It looks like Bruce Robinson hasn't loaded through, and it's green, and away we go. Sebastian gets a very good start ahead of Blake Urquhart, so he's going to have to tuck in. Oh, he's starting to blink, so a few latency issues going on. Hayden Sells just now crept up into position 2. Blake getting away a little bit slower than what his teammate is, and we have Aaron Thompson along that inside line. Robbie Bradbury's also peeking up in around Aaron Thompson. Mark Horton's just moving up alongside of him as well. We've got Blake Urquhart going rather wide through turn 2. He's got a little bit loose. That could have been pretty risky. We got into a spin around there while they are so close together. Sebastian Vandel just loses the lead. So Jordan Sell didn't get across, and Troy Mortensen also both missed the start. So our position board is slightly a bit skew for that at the moment as they've gone back into the pits. So Hayden Sell now leads the race. Sebastian only 0.2 of a second behind Hayden, but Hayden is really pulling away rather quickly. He's carrying a lot of speed. And Sebastian's going to have advantage of sitting in and tucking in on that toe. He's probably going to be able to hold tight for the remainder of the lap. He should be able to slingshot around on pit straight. But he's just going to have to get that perfect light, a few wide lines. That was Mark Horton that just went rather wide. He has Robbie Bradbury closing in on his tail. He also has Sean McKenzie closing in pretty quickly. He's getting up alongside of... Oh, he's going to make a pass. They're going 3 wide down pit straight. They're using the slingshot. It's blocked the track. We've got Neil looking to try and find an opening as well as Robbie Bradbury. He's just got up ahead of him. However, Blake Urquhart gets a great run. He's going to have the inside line advantage. There's a little bit of contact from Sean at the back. He managed to save that car pretty well. Our race leaders are holding tight, very tight. Sebastian is tucking right in, but he has just lost a fair bit of speed coming through turn 2. Hayden managing to hold him off. He's tucked back in. There's a bit of track debris being scattered out around turn 4. A very good pack in the middle. Oh, there's contact. There's a little bit of a nudge. It's not too bad of an incident. That, I think, is Robbie Bradbury. Let's have a look and see what happened for him. So I can actually find. So he gets nudged from the tail from Neil McKenzie and then gets pushed out. So he's now dropped down into 15th position. Sean McKenzie's just been towed in, so he's taken a little bit of damage from that. So he'll be sitting in the pits waiting for that to count down. So with the game, for those that aren't familiar, if you do take catastrophic damage or exit the car, you can get the car towed. It takes a couple of minutes to get the car in and back into the pits. However, the cars do have fast repairs options, so they don't have to sit there and wait out 30 minutes for significant repairs. Look at Sebastian Vandel tucking in very tight. So on the gyro, we might jump down onto the nose of the car to see how close these guys are getting. He did probably prematurely go for that outside line. You can see that little bit of slip up over that curb. Sebastian hunting him down. You can see him catching up from that slipstream. Hey Galen, thanks for joining us for the chat. Got a little bit inside. He was going to go for a move. I don't think he's carrying enough speed to be able to get up along inside for that corner just yet. But he is gauging a few openings with Hayden. His teammate Blake Urquhart currently in third position, who has Sam Tucker holding very tight on his tail. I think that may have been a little bit of a nudge. He did lose out some speed. Blake is holding tight. Cuts back through on the inside line, gets that position. Sam drops back just a little bit. Shane Morland and Neil McKenzie battling it out for 5th position. He cracks some pops from the exhaust there. Oh, he slips out. That's a very nice run on from the final turn. Sorry, Shane gets around Neil McKenzie. He's going to have that inside line, but Neil isn't going to give it up easily. And Neil manages to stay out on the inside line. Shane's still tucking in, but goes for the inside line through turn 2. He's very quick in on it. That was locking that back left. A lot of slip. He manages to carry that through. Hayden and Sebastian have just swapped positions. Fastest lap of the race is 1:57.5. That's Sebastian Vandel. That's lap 2, so that was from that slipstream advantage he was getting from Hayden. We've had Joel Robinson and Bruce Robinson both not managed to get to the start of the race. Hayden's positioned up along the outside. They are neck and neck through that corner. Sebastian backs off. He didn't have a good fast line. He had to let Hayden take that line. Blake and Sam still battling it out for position 3. Yeah, Galen and the professional drivers didn't make it into the session tonight. We didn't get them in the practice beforehand either. However, we did have Jan Magnussen and Jason Barguana in the practice session, so that was pretty interesting to see. We're hoping they may have come across and jumped into the race as well. Hayden and Sebastian doing a fair bit of swapping around. They're pretty similar times. A 1:57.5 and a 1:57.2 is the fastest laps they have set. And that 1:57.2 by Sebastian is the fastest lap of the race. It's almost a quarter of the way through the race. There's 31 minutes remaining. Looks like they're catching up to some traffic already. These guys are going to have to get around pretty quickly and cleanly. Sebastian is not giving up on Hayden. Yeah, they're doing some very quick times out there, Mick. It was pretty good. I was actually on track driving with the guys beforehand, and Jan was there, and it was some pretty quick laps. We're seeing 1:57s being set. However, Sebastian did qualify with a 1:56. That was a pretty phenomenal pole lap. And a few of the drivers starting to space out just a little bit. Debut Pablo and debut Phillip is starting to close in on each other. They've got a couple of seconds away before they find JJ Hamilton. He's also debuting with us tonight. And Matt Tesario is closing down on Robbie Bradbury. It's Matt in the Track Days car. I think they're... Actually, yeah, it is his car there. I'm not sure. Actually, I think he's in the Clutch Kickers looking car. Is that... They may be actually... No, that's Mark Horton. So they actually caught up to Mark Horton. He was caught up for that incident with Robbie Bradbury. There was a little bit of a touch. So I sent him go to that back end, and he was getting some very quick laps in practice and qualifying. Sebastian still hanging tight to Hayden. They are starting to close in. So we had Hayden sell and have changed our tickers as well. So we've got some position movements on the top ticker now. So you can actually see how they've actually progressed from their qualifying position. And he moves out of the way for him. They got a bit of traffic catching up here as well. Shane Morland in third position. Neil McKenzie currently tucking in tight behind Shane. He's getting a good slipstream advantage. He's going to swing out for an attempt on turn one. That's a lot of speed he's carrying. He's got that thing up to 162. He's about 4 or 5 Ks quicker. 166. Just a fraction of the speed difference between him and Shane, but it wasn't enough to get around. Carrying that excess speed down through turn two. You do have to hit those brakes and then get that car through. Otherwise it will start to go into a very big spin, as it is an off-camber crest as they go around that corner. Hayden and Sebastian still battling it out the front. Looks like he's trying to go for an opening. They're very similarly paced on that last lap, a 157.6 and 157.7. The fastest time still the same, 157.5 and 157.2. Shane and Neil still duking it out for position 3. Stephen Banks currently running in 18th position. Aaron Maguire's a few seconds away from Aaron Thompson. Oh, it's a spin for Pablo. That's just allowed JJ and Robbie to get through. Graham Ellis also catching up on him. He's not going to have enough speed to be able to get onto that race pace to get ahead of him, so he loses a few positions. Phillip Buckland and JJ Hamilton battling it out down pit straight. JJ getting that stream. And Phillip holding him off and moving into that driving line before turn 2. He's running a little bit wide. Came into with that too high of a speed. So the understeer costing him a lot of corner exit speed, allowing JJ Hamilton to take that position away from him. Sebastian's just moved back up into P1. So Hayden has led 6 of the 7 laps. And Sebastian getting a good gap over Hayden already. He's pushed out by half a second. It's probably not going to be enough to keep that slipstream away from him as he comes down onto the straight. Hayden's going to definitely go for a slingshot. It's not enough to catch up. You can see him slowly catching up. A lot of understeer there. You can hear that tyre squealing. He was fighting the steering through it. You see him closing the gap in again. The car's nearly topping out as they go up that hill and down into the braking zone on that curb. A little bit of tail slip for Sebastian, but pulls away a lot quicker than Hayden does. Our race leaders well ahead of the rest of the field at the moment. They're currently ahead by 10 seconds to position 3 with Shane Moreland. He's having a great first debut race with Apex Esports League. He's got Neil McKenzie looking to take that spot away from him. Blake Urquhart and Matt Hardigan still sitting pretty tight. Their last lap's very similar, 158.4 and a 158.3. The new fastest lap of the race has been set at 157.1. That is by Blake Urquhart. That's a very quick time. We don't know who we're trying to catch up to. Shane Moreland's just peeled off into the pits. So we are nearing the halfway point, and we have restricted the fuel capacity to the cars, so they can only carry 40% of their standard fuel tank. Meaning our drivers will not have enough fuel to be able to last out a whole race, as the game doesn't have a mandatory pit requirement, but you can actually force that by restricting the fuel levels, thus enforcing the drivers to have to go in and do that pit, so you can get that little bit of endurance race out of the cars and get some action from the pit stops. These two haven't given each other a break. We're currently on lap 9. We're only a minute away from the halfway point. They will have to possibly consider pitting within the next few laps, as the cars are going to be getting a little bit light, not sticking down as much. They don't sort of slip too much, but as the tyres start to scrub out that little bit more, and that's a big spin then. It could have been the case for Sebastian. That's cost him. That was a pretty hard hit. He's definitely taken some suspension damage to that car. That's going to be beneficial for Hayden. He uses that opportunity to head into the pits, as he knows Sebastian will probably be doing the same now as well. So down on into the approach. Blake also following Sebastian. So our leaders now currently in pit lane. We don't get to see pit crew on these cars, unfortunately. Not like some of the other cars the game has, like NASCAR, to get to see them come out and change those tyres. But Tercerio stays out on track. So that means he's going to take the race lead. And drivers, we were talking about using the long pit exit. Some drivers choosing to use it, but some not. as the racing line is actually along the short pit exit line. And it can run into all sorts of problems if drivers come flying out of the pits and straight into the racing line while the cars are doing about 165 k's. It can spell disaster. But Matt leads the race currently, but he will need to head into the pits very shortly. The car's going to be getting very low on fuel. Hayden Sell comes back out in position 2. Sebastian comes out in position 3. Blake in P4. A little bit of battle going on with Robbie Bradbury, Neil McKenzie. I think they've just gotten around a lapped car. I'm not sure whose car that is. I think it's a Clutch Kicker's car. It might be Mark Horton. That is Mark Horton. That is definitely Mark Horton. So maybe a lap car, but he still carries great pace. Oh no, he's going to nearly spin out in front of them. That could have been disastrous for Neil. Neil probably just had a little bit of panic. That's Robbie Rabbit just peeling off into the pits. Neil McKenzie stays out on track, enjoying a tow from Mark Horton. He's going to sling out and around. So blue flag would be shown for Mark. Mark's currently sitting in position at 19. We have Hayden Sell leading the race by 6.1 seconds. After that spin for Sebastian, costing him a little bit of time. And the two going peg for quite a while. Sebastian did lead the race for 3 laps. Hayden Sells still currently leading. Looks like Sam Tucker's just head into the pits. He's been in there for a while. It looks like he's getting a tow. So it looks like he's may have taken some damage and that car's fairly stationary, so he's had to tow that car in. Hayden having a great drive. And if you do recall watching back to our Logitech G series, Hayden had a lot of bad luck with some setups and technical issues, not being able to finish out a lot of the races. And don't forget, we are supporting Beyond Blue for this series. We are raising funds and raising awareness for mental health issues in Australia and working for suicide prevention. So do get behind that cause. There is our fundraise.beyondblue.org.au/Apex Esports League. That'll take you to the Beyond Blue website, and then we'll allow you to donate to Beyond Blue. That doesn't go to us, it goes directly to Beyond Blue. It just tracks our fundraising goal targets there. And as you can see, we've reached 385. Our first goal was 350, and then we're going to be broadcasting the No Rules race. So that's going to be going ahead in the coming week. We'll be hosting that. Probably look at trying to do that Friday or Saturday night. We just got to tee that up with our Project Cars 2 drivers. So do stay tuned with updates for that, and you can stay up to date with all of that by heading to our Facebook page. And if you are on Facebook, don't forget to hit that follow or like button, and then you can be informed when we do go for it. Otherwise, we will be broadcasting it, so if you have hit that follow button on Twitch, you will be notified when we go live. So we will be broadcasting our RS01 trophy on Thursday night. There's a little bit of spacing going on. We'll still have Neil McKenzie battling it out with a lapped car, and that's Mark. Still keeping great pace, only dropping down to position 19 due to the incident on lap 1. We have Aaron Maguire currently in 10th position. He's a couple of seconds away from Phillip Buckland. Phillip's last lap was at 2:04. Aaron Maguire 1:59, so he's probably going to start closing in on him. Could very well have been a pit out lap, as it's usually around that time when they usually short pit exit, should I say. So a little bit of spacing going on track. Robbie Bradbury is about 7 seconds away from JJ Hamilton. And Sean McKenzie did have to get towed out. Matt currently coming in 6th position. Shane Molan in 5th. He's got 3 seconds behind him before Matt catches up. So he's a little bit of a safety net, and he's got a good while. He's got about 12 seconds ahead of him with Neil McKenzie. Neil just getting through a little bit more back marker traffic. Okay, a few of them going wide. Not sure who they were that they were just trying to get around. Sebastian still holding that 6-second gap behind Hayden Sell. He's not losing much time from him, he's just hanging on. But he's going to have to really pull some good pace, as he's not going to have a slipstream advantage. But that's also the same case for Hayden. So if you can really try and improve on some of the sectors over Hayden, he can start to close that gap in. Especially if Hayden does happen to get caught up in a bit of traffic as he's getting around the lap cars. Graham Ellis, it's got about 4 seconds till he catches up to Jordan Sell. Jordan currently coming in 10th position. We have Matt quickly closing that gap on Shane. He's just about a second quicker last lap. Looks like Sean McKenzie has had to retire out from the looks of things. Mark in the pits currently. Tony Vassell is currently in 19th position. He's just... Troy overshot the corner. Oh, and goes into a spin. Sam Tucker catching up to some backmarker traffic as well. Russell Gander currently coming in 15th position. Aaron Maguire in 14th. I'm not sure if that's Aaron Thompson just ahead of him or if that's Mark Horton. It must be Aaron Thompson. Unless there is another Clutch Kickers car out there. That's pretty neat for dads. Hayden starting to push out that lead on the race. He's now got it out to 7.2 seconds. We're 3/4 of the way through the race. There's 9 minutes remaining. He's a good half a second quicker each lap compared to Sebastian, which is why we're seeing that gap slowly creep out. Sebastian is 5 seconds away from teammate Blake Urquhart. He is quietly plugging away. He's probably going to start closing that gap in on Sebastian. He's been setting some 157s. He still holds the fastest lap of 157.1. Hayden having to get around some more traffic. This is that slipstream to sling out. It's not quite enough. He's going to have to be cautious not to have him turn in on him. There would be blue flag being shown. Doesn't want to get caught up in an incident with lapped cars. Tucks in nicely. Gets around quickly and cleanly. Yeah, go in a safety car, make it interesting for him. Yeah, catch them all back up. Mike Horton still holding tight. Not sure if that must be Sebastian. So he's caught back up to with Mark Horton. Mark goes out rather wide for him. He was keeping a very similar pace. Mark's fastest lap was a 158.2. Hayden losing a little bit of gap between him and Sebastian. That did stretch out to nearly 7.5 seconds, 7.9 seconds. It did drop down to 6.1. Sebastian was 2 seconds quicker compared to Hayden on the last lap around. And that gap has closed a little bit more again. Blake and Mark racing pretty hard. See Sebastian tucking in, using that slipstream. Gets very close to Mark. So Mark's currently in 21st. Carried a lot more speed down through turn 2. There goes Sebastian. Gets back out in front. We have Graham Ellis starting to close down in on Stephen Banks. I'm not sure if Graham did just pit out. Trying to look for, see when he did actually pit in. Pretty sure he would have had to have already pit well and truly by now. So his lap was a little bit slower than Stevens. He was 3 seconds slower, setting a 2:01. That gap was closing in between the two. So there's only a few laps left of the race. Hayden's pushed out that race lead to 7.2 seconds again. Having a cracker of a previous lap, a 1:57.6 to Sebastian's 1:58.2. That was a 1:57.8. It's carrying some very good consistent pace out there. However, if Sebastian didn't have that spin and making wall contact, he probably would have still been sitting very close to the tail of Hayden, if not exchanging a few times around, as we saw in the first few laps. Sebastian still going toe-to-toe with Mark Horton. May even try and help him out with carrying some extra speed. He might be able to tuck in. It wasn't until he got around that he did actually lose out on that speed. If Mark can keep up some pretty good pace, he could potentially close that gap in a little bit on Hayden. It's going to be hard to try and find 7 seconds over the next 2 laps. But Hayden is coming up to some traffic. Locking that right back tyre as he comes down into the braking zone. It's on board with our race leader. He's been getting some fantastic lap times. He's led for 15 of the 18 laps. Well, he seemed top out at about 163, I would assume. So 162 currently, 163. Starts to back off as he turns in. We do see the cars get up to 165 to 170 with this slipstream. So that's just how good these cars go once they can start drafting and then use that to slingshot around. Looks like a little bit of issues going on with Sebastian. Looked like he may have missed a gear, I'm not sure, but he did drop off a fair bit of speed. That means his teammate is well and truly in range of closing in on him over the course of the remaining last lap. That's a few lag skips there. I think that's Russell. Yes, in the gold car. Hayden is coming up onto traffic. Hayden's very close to wrapping up this lap. There's 20 seconds remaining. Should mean we will get one more lap at this. It won't be white flag shown just yet. So we'll be getting the white flag now. This is the final lap. No, it is the finish. That was the white flag. So Hayden crosses the line. Sebastian and Blake going to go neck and neck for the finish line. Sebastian just crosses ahead of Blake Urquhart, position 2 and 3. Congratulations. We're almost going to do a side-by-side shot for the podium. Neil McKenzie bringing up in 4th position. Matt Tesserio in 5th. there's a turn. I think that was with a lapped car. I don't know if that's across the line. No, you can see the checkered flag. Oh, what's going on? He's got to get that car around. He's going to lose some positions. Unfortunate right at the end. Not sure what's going on. So that means JJ Hamilton and Robbie Bradbury side by side right at the end. That was pretty close. So we're spectacularly close for the finish line. Just scraping ahead at the finish line. That is super close. So congratulations to JJ taking 6 on his debut. Shane Morland, I think he may have taken some damage. He can't get that car across the finish line. This means he's going to lose more positions. And Shane Morland is going to pass through as well. I think we're going to get a friendly assist from someone to push him across the line here. Look at this, he must have ran out of fuel just before, or he's killed the engine. But he's nudging himself up. He's going to give him a push across the line. No, he gave up. He did contemplate it. That was pretty good sportsmanship there to slow down and look at pushing him across the line. And there we have the conclusion of round 3. So we will be bringing in our podium finishers. That'll be Hayden, Sebastian and Blake. So we'll bring up some details in a moment once I can find the button for my results. And there we have Hayden Sell taking the win. Sebastian Vandel taking position 2. Blake Urquhart in position 3, followed by Neil McKenzie, Matt Tesserio, JJ Hamilton, Robbie Bradbury, Jordan Sell, Phillip Buckland, Stephen Banks, Aaron Thompson, Shane Morland, Graham Ellis, Aaron Maguire, Matt Hardigan, Russell Gander, Tony Vaselis, Troy Mortensen, Sam Tucker, Mark Horton, Pablo Suzart, Sean McKenzie, Joel Robinson and Bruce Robinson, who did miss that race start, so that was rather unfortunate. So we'll be bringing in our drivers into the chat now. We should have a couple of them here. I just have to unmute them. And myself. Sebastian and Blake, do we have you?
Surely do, buddy.
Congratulations on the podium. So that's
Thank you.
Good finish,
Thanks,
Sebastian. So you had some...
I was just pushing someone over the line.
Oh, that was you trying to do it? we saw some, yeah, someone must have run out of fuel just right beforehand.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was pretty neat to see. And then we've got Hayden just jumped in as well, so I'll just bring him in. Congratulations on the win, Hayden.
Yeah, thank you.
It was good driving between you and Sebastian. You were keeping peg and peg for a good while.
Yeah, I think at the start we were both trying to see, like, I didn't want to go in front either. We were both trying to save a bit of fuel. But yeah, it was pretty tight on fuel.
Yeah, so just getting across, because you did pit around that halfway point as well. So it would have been very light towards that back end.
Yeah, very close. I think I went across the line. Like, none of us were gonna make it, and then because we started all going a lot slower to make it home, we then made it home because we were trying to slow down so much to make it.
Yeah, good strategy. But then there's some very quick times being set out there, and they're very consistent still. So that back end still getting 158, so some pretty good race pace while conserving.
Yeah.
Yep, that's fantastic result, guys. Congratulations on the podium. And Sebastian, I think that's going to be pretty good for you to take a championship lead, since Chaz didn't get to make the session tonight.
Yeah, hopefully that gives me the lead.
Then heading into round 4 is Alton Park Circuit. So it's going to be some more close action between you guys.
Yeah, it should be a good race there.
Yeah, congratulations, guys. And look forward to seeing you out on track again next week.
Cheers, mate.
See
Thank
ya.
you.
Good race, Hayden.
Yeah, good race.
And then we have Hayden Sell, Sebastian Van Del and Blake Urquhart, our podium finishers for round 3. And next week, as I did just mention, we are heading over to Alton Park Circuit in the Foster's configuration. It's going to be some very quick times going around there. The guides are going to be pretty tight packed, especially if we get a good grid size of about 24 cars again. And hopefully we see some of our professional drivers get in and do some great pace around the track, as the guys do love racing with them. So it would be fantastic to see. But otherwise, don't forget we do have the Project Cars 2 series, the RS01 trophies. That's the Renault Sports. That's on Thursday night at 7:30 p.m. So do hit that follow button so you can be notified when we go live. And then we will be organising that no rules race. There's going to be absolute carnage as the drivers have all penalties and restrictions removed from the race, so they can play very dirty. It's going to be a lot of fun, and that will be all in raising funds for Beyond Blue as we've reached that $350 goal. So we're at that $385. So if you can encourage friends, family and yourself to donate, that would be great. If we hit that 450 mark, we'll have a demolition derby, 3 heats of absolute carnage. So that is our next goal for reaching that target. So we do appreciate all the support for Beyond Blue. Thanks for tuning in, and we do hope to see you trackside next week.